Just a reminder to our Speculating Wildly About Crime listeners, this is for entertainment purposes only and solely the thoughts and opinions of our team. We do invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to Speculating Wildly About Crime. I'm Janelle, and today we're going to be discussing the tragic tale of Diane Schuler, often referred to as Aunt Diane due to the 2011 documentary, There's Something Wrong with Aunt Diane. I think every podcast I used for research told the end of the story at the beginning, but I'm going to try something different. Are any of you not familiar with this case? Nope. Okay. If anyone out there watching, if this is a new story for you, please let me know your feedback on the slow reveal, or if you would have preferred a spoiler, rip the band-aid off right off the top. All right, let's jump in. July 26, 2009. 36-year-old Diane Schuler and her husband Daniel are wrapping up a weekend camping trip at Hunter Lake in Parksville, New York. With them are their children, 5-year-old son Brian, 2-year-old daughter Erin, and their nieces, Emma 8, Allison 7, and Kate 5. And this is something they do quite often, not out of the norm for them to go spend a weekend at this campground. The morning starts like any other when they'd be heading home. Dan wakes up to start packing up, clean the boat about 5 or 6 a.m. And then 7 a.m., he wakes Diane and the kids up. At 9 o'clock, Emma calls her dad, Warren Hance, to say that they would be leaving soon. So we head out, leave the campsite around 9:30. So we've got 2 cars. We have husband Dan. He's got all the bags and a dog. Diane is driving her brother's minivan with all the children. So we're looking at around 140-mile trip back. So 2 hours, give or take. So this is where the timeline will split off, and we're going with Diane. So 9:56, stop at McDonald's for breakfast. The cashier was later interviewed, said Diane seemed perfectly fine. She ordered an orange juice and an iced coffee. 10:33, we're heading out of Mickey D's. 10:46, Diane stops for gas. There is video. There's absolutely no signs of anything concerning. There's no audio, but we're told that she goes inside to get over-the-counter pain meds, and they don't have whatever brand she wants. So here's Diane. We see the red minivan. It's actually pretty decent footage for a gas station.
Gas stations will save the world.
I'm impressed. I don't know why we can't get this
Everywhere else.
Yeah, this is like really clear
important places,
for a
but
security camera.
you can see her go look around. Then she's conversing with the clerk. Again, we only know what was asked because of the interview that was had with the clerk. So walking back to the car, she looks fine to me. She looks better than I would after spending all that time with 5 screaming children.
Same. She doesn't drive crooked. Seems pretty normal.
There's always that lag in it. Can you really tell if she's driving fine? Can you really tell if she's walking fine?
I mean, it's a fair point.
Is that just how the video is from that surveillance camera? Is that I take a step and there's a lag and I'm driving? Okay.
But for what you would expect from what's going to happen in 3 hours, I would be like face planning or.
Well, 3 hours is a big gap too. It's not like she pulled out and that's the ending. Okay.
So in interviews later, the clerk claimed that she was absolutely fine and it was just a normal interaction. They just didn't carry the specific brand of pain medication that she was looking for. So we leave the gas station at 10:58, 11:37. So think about that, like less than an hour. We're in, somebody's going to come for me. Looks like Middletown, but I'm pretty sure it's Middleton. Carolina, do you know?
I don't.
I'm just going to say Middleton, New York. Diane calls Jackie, the mother of her nieces, to say that they're running a little bit behind. During this time, there are also calls to their dad, whether it's the kids speaking or Diane speaking, but everything completely normal. At the same time that these calls are happening, so between 11:30 and 12, reports start coming in about a red minivan driving erratically and aggressively. At 11:45, we have a report about a woman on the side of the road with Diane's description, bent over, appearing to be vomiting. And that was also really close to Middleton. So 12:15 to 12:45, we have witness reports of the red minivan zigzagging, tailgating, passing on shoulders, flashing high beams, straddling lanes, and blaring the horn for long intervals. So just to be clear, she's not swerving as you would if you can't control, you can't function. She's being very precise as she's changing lanes and moving through traffic.
Like road rage driving.
Yeah, almost like she was on a mission. It reminded me of my weird game of always trying to beat the Waze arrival time, where it's like, I got to make up 2 minutes. I got to make up 2 minutes. There are also witness reports about a woman on the side of the road, again, sitting on a guardrail, appearing ill. So 12:58, Diane calls Jackie Hance, her sister-in-law, the niece's mom, and that's when there are signs that something is off. The call ends very abruptly. Warren, the girl's dad, calls Diane back. It's about an 8-minute call. And this is where Emma says the infamous line, "There's something wrong with Aunt Diane." Warren later recounts that Diane sounded disoriented and called him Danny, which is her husband. Warren tells Diane to wait and he will come get everyone. So he hauls ass to go find them. So 1:10 p.m., 4 wrong numbers are dialed back to back. Shortly after, it's assumed that Diane leaves her phone on the shoulder of the road on like a concrete barrier because all future calls go to voicemail. So later, the phone was found after the toll on the Tappan Zee Bridge. So up until this point, this is her normal route back home from the campground. This is where you would expect her to be going on her journey home. 20 minutes later, at 1:30 p.m., Diane enters an exit ramp for the Taconic State Parkway. So she's driving south into northbound traffic. Just got chills. This goes on for about 1.7 miles with her just flooring it, like up to 80 miles per hour. Cars are swerving out of the way. Calls report that she is driving with a purpose, like not even attempting to dodge cars. 1:35, the minivan hits an SUV head on. 3 men inside, the Bastardis, were heading to a family party. They were all killed. Diane, her daughter, and 3 nieces also did not survive. Her son was pulled out of the van by bystanders. Thank goodness, because it eventually burst into flames after rolling down an embankment. Ooh, you guys okay?
A lot. I know the story, but every time I hear it, I forget just how much it is.
So a little bit on the aftermath. So originally, everyone believed it was some sort of medical event, like a stroke, a heart attack, a seizure. And then the tox screen came back, which showed large amounts of alcohol and marijuana. Her blood alcohol content was 0.19. And based on her weight, that's the equivalent of 10 drinks, plus very high levels of THC, which would mean this was very recent use. So for context, the legal limit is 0.08. Also, there was still an ample amount of alcohol in her stomach. So it hadn't even made it into her bloodstream yet. So that 0.19 is being very conservative. So you can imagine the immediate scandal it caused. And then it was only made worse because the family was in such denial. They were so adamant. They fought this narrative tooth and nail, claiming that she didn't drink. She would never do this. The toxicology report is wrong. It was something medical. So the documentary basically covers all their attempts to get this disproven. It got wild, y'all. Her husband even had Diane's body exhumed to check the tox screens again. It was a huge deal for the family to not have somebody think the Bastardis were killed by a drunk driver.
I hate that because I feel like that would, in their minds, be the last way of being able to protect her.
But you have to imagine, like, it's insult to injury to the family of these men that died.
Absolutely, but
This is the hill that you're gonna die on.
But in her family, they're the victims too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So they're having a victim mindset with things as well as the victim's families.
Very true.
Absolutely, it is horrible for those three men's families, but they are also the victim.
Yeah. If I think about the most out of left field thing to happen actually happening, there would certainly be disbelief and shock. But then it also turned into a situation where it was, she didn't drink. She never drank. She didn't drink that much.
That bothered me. Yeah,
She
where it was
never-
like she never
got
did.
drunk, and
But
then
every once in a while
on
she
and
would.
on and on.
And then it was the same thing with the marijuana use. She never used. Sometimes she did. And I feel like the family would have had a lot more credibility had they been honest from the get-go, right? And said, hey, she did drink sometimes. Hey, we brought a bottle of vodka to the camping trip. We drank at night after the kids went to bed. Maybe there was something in her system. I feel like that would have been more believable. In the same breath, she was very much, from what I read and what I remember, a person who was like, Stepford wife is a wrong term, but very much like my image, right? I am this perfect person. I do all these things. And so to your point, David, this is her family's way of paying these last respects, right? I'm going to do right by her. And this is how she would have wanted to go out. So even if we do think she was a closet drinker or did these things, we can't tell anybody.
Yeah. So also just have to note that a handle of vodka was found in the van. So now some fun facts. Oh, okay, sorry. Not fun, just facts. There's nothing fun about this. So Diane was actually, she held an executive position. So she was super, super successful. She was the breadwinner of the family. A lot of people use that whole, the perfect mom syndrome. She always needed to be in control. It's like that. Everything's great. I'm on top of everything. The documentary goes way deep into the family dynamics of her childhood. Long story short, her mom left the family when Diane was 9. It was a super sore subject with her, and she took over that mother role with her siblings. Another thing to think about is she had a tooth that was bothering her constantly, like to the point where she was often seen like holding her jaw. So maybe that was one of the reasons she stopped for pain relief pills, so she could dull it. And then since the brand wasn't available, maybe that's when she turned to vodka. The orange juice from McDonald's, no orange juice was found in her stomach. I know a lot of people speculated that was to make screwdrivers, but it just wasn't there. Warren and Jackie, the parents of the nieces, have never spoken to the media. So what was in that 8-minute call that caused the first alarm bells that we may never know.
Well, how old was he when this happened?
The brother,
No, the child that survived.
5.
So did he ever come out and say anything?
He had some major brain
Yeah.
damage
He,
after this. Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. Brian, the son that survived, has serious brain trauma that he will just live with for the rest of his life. So, do you guys think this was intentional? If you believe the witness statements,
So question, do we have any accounts of her talking to her husband at all during this trip? And did he state any conversations that were had during the,
nothing that I have ever heard.
okay.
Do you think this was the norm for her and people didn't know, or maybe they did and just chose?
So this is a case where I've literally went
about
down
it?
every single rabbit hole, and every rabbit hole I go down, I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then I go down this rabbit hole and I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. Like literally have been down 3 main rabbit holes and they all make sense to me. So I'm really not quite sure. I could totally see her being a closet alcoholic because of everything she's been dealing with. And this is my way to be okay with life because I've got way too much on my plate. And it's normal for me to drink because I do it all the time. So it's fine for me to drink in this car while I'm driving home. So I went down that rabbit hole and I'm like, yeah, okay, I could see that. And she would hide the alcohol or whatever. Then I also could see her husband, everybody knew that she was this closet alcoholic. But again, we're trying to honor her. She was a great person. We're not going to fucking tell anybody about it.
So this is the first case that I have hosted and been a guest where I have no idea. Like, I have no theory.
Everyone goes to, she's an alcoholic. This is a closet life that she lives. But does it have to be to that extreme? Because I feel like if she was an alcoholic and this was a lifestyle, there would be those situations where people would say she has driven kind of crazy, or she does have an abundance of speeding tickets, or has been arrested before.
I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this. Oh God, please say that you have. But it's like vacation drinking where you're in rough shape and the only way that you're going to get through this next day is you go have a Bloody Mary or you have a drink and you're like, I just got to get back to like.
It's hair of the dog or you wake and bake.
Hair
And
of
those
the
are
dog.
the 2 ways that you get through.
But sometimes that is effective, but sometimes you go too far real fast and you're like,
And you're like, fuck, I'm drunk
I
again.
am immediately back where I was last night.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say what we had talked about her with marijuana, but again, we don't know. Do we know if it was ingested or if it was an edible? Because could be she had ingested, like maybe ate an edible. She's fine. She's fine. She's fine. We know that edibles take some time to kick in. It's 2 hours later, whatever it is. She's been driving, and all of a sudden something hits, and that's why she's just all of a sudden
So
not able to.
we also have to think about edibles weren't just everywhere then.
Yeah.
I think it just became legal in New
Okay,
York.
but people were still making pot brownies
Oh,
or
mhm.
pot cookies. You could have gotten it from, you were camping all weekend. Maybe that was one of your down things that you did. The kids are all in bed. We're eating a pot brownie. That's a pot brownie.
Yeah, I
is
think
like-
that
So-
was long before it was legal in like every state,
So-
probably. You could do that, and then it wasn't regulated in a way. If you're just getting it friend or something, depending on how they made it, I'm sure it's different.
My only thought on that is I can't imagine trying to sneak a brownie when you're like in the car with
kids.
5 kids.
So 2 things. So my first thing is, and now I want to ask you if this has ever happened to you. So there have been times where I've had an edible or whatever, right? And literally the next day when everything is supposed to be fine, like all of a sudden something will hit me and I'm like, holy shit, this is supposed to be gone right now. And it's only happened to me once or twice. So maybe it was just me and maybe it's crazy, but has it ever happened to you?
It's, yeah, it's not like you're all of a sudden overwhelmingly stoned. You just feel off.
Yeah, it wasn't like I couldn't function, but I was like, okay, I remember sitting in a situation where I should not have had this happen. And I was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, act normal. And it was fine. Like I could act normal, but I was like, in my back of my head, I was like, and then a couple hours, it was fine. And so that's why I'm saying, like, maybe she had done it the night before to sleep or to relax or whatever. And then I'm driving, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh, fuck.
And she thought she'd be home by the time that the edible kicked in, whatever it was. Could be. Definitely, I do question the lack of orange juice in her stomach. But then I wonder, maybe she threw it up. But then what was cutting the alcohol that was still in her stomach lining? Did she not cut it after a certain point? Did she run out of orange juice and just start drinking straight from the bottle?
Or my kids always ask for everything I fucking have. So she could have had the orange juice. She didn't buy the orange juice for the kids. And they were like, I want orange juice. And she's like, here, have the orange juice.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Right. So that's why she didn't have the orange juice in her system. But also, like, why? I shouldn't say this. So she's peeking on the side of the road. Maybe they really tied one on the night before. And then this whole thing is, like we talked about, trying to get rid of this hangover. I have to drive these 5 kids back 2 hours. And it's a rough day. Like, I've been there before. It sucks. I didn't have 5 kids in the back of the car.
So there's also like people talk about, was she in like a blacked out state? I don't think someone in a blacked out state, I think of that as someone who you can't even walk, let alone drive through traffic, zigzagging, acting in this aggressive, erratic way, but still maintain your composure enough to not hit a car. That's the only thing that makes me think she knew what she was in control of what she was doing. I don't think she was blacked out.
So maybe, and maybe not. The driving, maybe I could, but, and please come with me here, Janelle, because I came with you to the other thing. I went to college and I have been blackout drunk, right? And I have woken up the next morning and asked my friends, what did I do?
Oh, forget with you.
And they described to me, thank you for coming with me. And they described to me perfectly normal things, right? You went to McDonald's and you ordered this. You went to the dance floor and you did this. All things that I would do in sound mind. I had no fucking idea I did it. But you would have known I was drunk because of the atmosphere that we were in. I was not stumbling. They were like, you weren't stumbling and you weren't falling over. And there have been times where I can't believe you didn't remember that. I can't believe you don't know that you did that.
Can I put a little precursor on that? Because I do know a little bit about that.
Yeah.
As far as apparently when you black out, you may lose portions of time that you may have been technically sober for, that you were doing and acting and doing, like, so normally you would remember that. Then
I have never
once
thought
you
of it that way.
tipped over that edge, you can't remember further back.
That makes
so I'm wondering if
sense.
it's
like
just at that point of blackout. I'm wondering is when the car accident happened through blackout.
I've had experiences, yes, plural, where
I'm there with you.
Fine 1 minute and then falling over the next.
Oh yeah.
Friends, please don't leave stories in the comments. we don't need it. So this parkway, it's not like what you think of a traditional city highway. It's like I don't know what you call it.
Have you driven it, Carolina?
I have. It's like a very narrow, it's a horrible road to drive on. The Taconic is horrible.
But the entrance or sorry, the exit ramp is not, it didn't sound like it was as hard to get on as it would like a big interstate highway that you would think about. It's more like a county road or
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment
Okay.
of it.
but still to make it almost 5 minutes going the wrong way, that's a long time.
Yeah, that's pretty far.
Especially going as fast as she went. Yeah.
And I'm
Mhm.
thinking of kids screaming in the back of the car or
Yes.
antenna noise. Like, no, they know something's wrong at this point. So that's also, how are you able to drive in the wrong direction for that long, going fast with kids screaming at you?
It's
I don't
so
know.
one thing that, and I have absolutely not fact based, but you know how you hear about people that take Ambien and will sleepwalk or have these weird, crazy.
Like trances.
Do we know, did they do a full toxicology on her? Do we know that there was nothing else in her system, or is that not
That's
kind of
all that was ever
reported
Release.
on?
Yeah.
Because I think you
reported.
have to do certain when you're doing toxicology, and I don't know if anyone else here knows this for sure. You have to test for certain drugs.
So it's almost like doing a
Wow.
10-panel drug screen or 7-panel drug screen or
Yeah.
whatever.
But I
Okay.
don't think it tests for everything, though. I think you're right, but I don't think it tests for everything.
Yeah, which
So
is would be interesting if there was anything else in her system that was interacting with the alcohol, with the marijuana.
yeah.
So another thing is, what if she introduced the marijuana to try to sober up?
And
I think
I
that's
will be the first
terrible
to
way to
tell
do it.
you,
It's
I
terrible.
mixed those two things once and I will never fucking do it again.
I don't think you mix the marijuana at the end, do you? I think it's got to be the opposite.
I
It's like
think
the
what
beer before liquor. So the problem is, I feel like her husband could have added so much more color to this to say,
Mm.
oh, she was in severe pain all weekend when we were camping. She was like in bed, just really hurting from this toothache. But instead,
Deny.
yes. And
but he's lost either way. It's he truly has lost either way. So if you come to me and say she was in bed all weekend and shit, okay, fine. Then why didn't you drive her home? Why did you let her get in the car?
yeah,
There's no winning. So the victim, in my opinion, is the victim, and the one hurting is going to pick the route of less destruction. And in his mind,
right.
it might be wrong, but it was that less destruction. And I hate that for him. I hate it for all of them. But
Or
again,
maybe he just doesn't even know he's doing it. Maybe that's the other thing too. Maybe he just wants to believe that or needs to believe that to accept what happened. He's got to carry some guilt here. His wife died, his
Daughter died.
daughter and then nieces died. Like there's got to be, and those 3 other men that they didn't know, but I mean, there's got to be guilt there too.
I think he feels as if he's lying to the world. I think he's in that bubble of, if I just lie, I'm lying to myself because I just need to go to sleep. I just need to rest. I need to eat a meal. And the only way I can do that is if I lie, because he had to call his brother and sister-in-law or vice versa and say, my wife was your children were in the care of my wife, and
Yeah.
I know that in a perfect world we think someone should stand up and say, you know what, my wife fucked up. There are dead children, there are dead people, your heart is broken,
hard, yeah.
your life is upside down, you don't know what's right or wrong.
True.
I
be
just want to say something to get me to that next minute, because that's all it is. It's not day by day anymore, it's minute by minute.
yeah. I will
Yeah.
I will be less harsh on him.
But the point I've been wanting to make is she had this perfect life and she was this perfect mom. I have a hard time believing that she would purposely get drunk or purposely be high driving down the road. I really honestly feel she tied one on the night before, woke up hungover, and fuck. Maybe it's the mom in me, but I just don't want to believe that you got in a car with five kids in the back, and were knowingly drunk, especially with how many times you pulled over. At one of those points, couldn't you have said,
That's
"Hey,
the
I'm
thing.
too drunk to drive"?
Why did she not stay at the spot where she left her phone and wait for her brother? Did she not want him to see what state she was in?
Embarrassed. Yeah.
Thought he might call the cops on her.
She's embarrassed. Yeah, I think Jamie has a point though. Perfect mom. She's got to uphold this perfect reputation, and all of a sudden she's in a spot where she's fucked up. Where I don't know how they got on the phone with the brother. Maybe the kids were calling the brother, and then she's on the phone with the brother. She's, it's fine. It's the 8-minute conversation. He's no, stop, and she's no, I'm fine, whatever, everything's good. And then she, doesn't want him to see. So it's back in that car.
I guess me personally, I'm the opposite. If I'm in that bad of shape, if somebody offers like the smallest inkling of help, I'm like, yes, pet my belly. Yes, you got me.
But
Well, we know how to kidnap Janelle.
yeah, just get me hammered and make me drive kids around.
It's crazy.
That could go back to that same idea of how she always needed to be in control. She always needed to, nothing could get her. She had it all handled.
We've talked about the tooth very briefly, and I have something that I do want to mention before I forget what it is about the tooth. Have any of you ever been in excruciating pain?
Yes.
Where you're like, I need to take, okay, so you'll take some sort of painkiller for it, right? That's not working. So you might jump up to the next thing. I know that there's been times where I've been in certain pain and I've been like, oh, I'm just gonna drink some wine or something, anything to like try. And it's still not working, and it still doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like you're in that much pain that anything that you are, and I know we touched it a little bit, but maybe that was part of it too with the tooth. And like you said, she was looking for the painkillers. Maybe she did switch to the vodka after that. Maybe it was like none of this stuff is working, and you're just not aware of.
I did a teeth whitening treatment a couple of weeks ago and came home and immediately opened a bottle of hot champagne.
Really?
Because the cold champagne hurt too much, but I just needed something.
In regards to the husband, was there an insurance payout with regard to the accident? Because if he was trying to prove,
oh gosh, I can't even let my mind go to that level.
Drunk,
and there's our corruption right there. No.
So that he could get the
That's on my team.
I can't even, no, my mind can't even go to a place where that could even be a possibility.
She's on to something though, because he was so fucking adamant. No, but he was so adamant that she wasn't drinking, that she wasn't this, she wasn't that. Why?
Because if it's an accident, if it was purposeful,
and you get paid out.
Or if someone personally sues you, you would have some backup to pay them a little bit. I hate to say that.
Yeah.
Because I just feel terrible for that family.
Oh, their family, yeah.
The whole family. Yeah. Such a devastation within.
I think about all the people that did these reports about there's a woman, she is ill on the side of the road. What if somebody had just stopped? Why didn't you stop instead of just making that phone call to 911? Like, why didn't you pull over?
People don't care. I will forever die in the hill of Kitty Genevieve. She could be alive right now. This happened a long fucking time ago. But like, none of those people cared, and they heard her fucking screaming in the street.
Yes.
I think Jamie came here tonight with the intent to talk the fuck count on this podcast.
I do struggle with the people don't care account, other than the people are terrified account. If you're being assaulted, they tell you to yell fire and not help.
It's a woman. She's got kids in the
But you probably didn't see the kids when she's pulled over puking. So can I talk about a crazy theory real quick?
Jamie, crazy theory? What? Off-duty police officer?
It does not involve law enforcement. So while we took a break a little earlier today, I was like, oh, I haven't done a Reddit dive down this
Oh gosh.
yet. And actually I didn't get this from Reddit. I did it from my own Google research. So a lot of people are dying on the Hill that she was not drunk. Something happened. It was a medical condition. Da, da, da. Okay. So two things. Number one is, and this is actually plausible, right? Because the car flipped and all these things happened. And you will test positive for blood alcohol content or a BAC if you have gasoline on you or in your system. And if the car is flipping, the gasoline from the car is going to be on you, maybe even ingested, because you never know. Crazy things happen, right? Could be that the car flipped just right. She ingested gasoline, and now she tested whatever level of BAC she was. Okay. So that's one thing. Another thing that, and I don't know if they tested for this, but I was doing some research, and another thing that can make your BAC level be positive when you weren't drinking is diabetes mellitus. And I didn't do a deeper dive on this. I literally just have a bullet point that says BAC this. So we need to do a deeper dive on it. But I feel like there are some things. It could also even be, was there hand sanitizer in the car? Did that go all over the place? Because, funny story, so I'm in staffing, and a while back, my client called me and said, I think this girl's drunk. Every time she comes back from lunch, we smell alcohol in her breath. We think she's drunk. So I called her one night and I was like, hey, what the fuck's going on at work? Are you drinking? Are you drinking on your lunch break? This is the thing, right? I'm a straight shooter. And she was like, no, I use this hand sanitizer like when I come back from break. And that's probably what it is. 1,000% that's what it was. So why couldn't it be in this case? There's hand sanitizer in the car, or back to my gasoline theory. The gasoline tank blew up. I don't know what the state of the car was. And now it's in her system or on her. Just throwing it out there.
I'm not.
We're speculating, right?
We're
That's what we're here to do.
speculating, but I am.
You're here to throw me down.
I'm floating right past this island.
You never come to my island, and it's so lonely.
Your island is so fucking weird. Okay.
But it's fun.
2009, hand sanitizer addicts. We were not there yet. It was before the COVID times. Gasoline magically found a way to get that. It would basically, the gasoline would have to just, like in Cancun when they poured the shots down your throat.
It's a 1 in a million chance.
David, your face. Are you on the island or are you in the boat with me?
Okay, because again, you have this person who needed to be a character to the world, right? And that character was this perfect person. So I've got the hand sanitizer. I've got the 25 kids in my car because no one else wanted them, and I'm going to keep them clean. If the car.
Wait, why are we keeping the kids clean?
You got an image to uphold.
Is that image, right?
Oh yeah, can't have dirty children.
I thought we were just trying to get them home safe.
I think earlier someone had mentioned you're in a van full of kids that are screaming and stuff, but when the kids were even on the phone with the father, as crazy of a time that is, the kids were still prim and proper. It did not seem like a chaotic craziness. You know what I mean? They were trained per Aunt Diane, and I don't mean that in an ugly way. They were disciplined. So when I think of, could there be a bucket of hand sanitizer? Absolutely. And did the car or van, didn't it ignite and catch on fire? And usually that's because there has to be some kind of a leak of some sort. So that's why I was like, oh, if it's upside down, the gas tank's here and is coming down, the gas is somehow pouring out or going through vents or something. I'm like, I see that. So that makes me wonder, what was her body like? Was her body burnt? Because if she was covered in gasoline and there was a fire, that would do more damage to the body, I would think.
You guys, I'm going to take you off the island and put y'all both on another planet, because you're negating the fact that this is all after the event happened. If you're saying that's how the alcohol, that's how all of that, the toxicology, then what made her make this choice to do that? Then
Well,
that means that you're saying she was sober or just high on.
Well, I think what our point is, can we trust those testings? That doesn't mean she wasn't drinking before, but doesn't mean it was that high. Does that mean that all the things that were found in her testing were completely true? Which would make me think that maybe there was a medical problem, but this gasoline hand sanitizer scenario is going to trump, I hate using that word now, but it's going to outweigh the actual medical problem, because that's easier detected. If you're dead, I can't tell that your tooth hurt.
It goes back to, because the argument that the family was trying to make is she had a seizure, she had this heart condition. So she could have had that and been driving down the road and thought that was normal. Or she could have been high off the THC and not drunk. Not saying that makes it okay, but we're just keep going back to this.
I think I just arrived at my theory.
And you're coming to the island with us.
No, I don't think she was hammered. I think she was drunk. I think that's just her, like what was normal for her.
That's a high content.
And because if she was hammered, she would be all over the place driving. She wasn't doing that. She was very precise, very okay.
But can anybody do that at double, is almost triple the legal limit?
I think it was just, you know how your tolerance just builds and builds. I think she probably got to a place where she was like, this is not good, but I don't think it was out of the norm for her to be drinking and or driving and or with children in the car. I think if she was that drunk, she never would have made it as far as she did. Somebody would have called and said nobody in all of these reports, nobody ever said there's a drunk driver. And also when she was on the Taconic, multiple witnesses say she was driving like arrow straight, like very like on a mission. You're not going to do that if
it's a medical condition. I don't know.
I just want to throw something out there just to skew
I'm here to catch it.
Literally get us off the island.
I don't know. I might get you on a different island. I'm not quite sure. This is a whole other island past the other island. No. Something about, you were saying there was some theories about maybe having some cardiac arrest, right? Anyway, let's talk about the diabetes thing for a second. Because I know you said that you had just mentioned that diabetes can also affect your blood alcohol content, or the BAC, right?
It can make your BAC seem like it's high, according to this webpage I'm on.
And yeah, mine too. Maybe we're on the same one. But yeah, it does say that it could be, it's for the acetone. If you have diabetes, your levels of acetone could be significantly higher, which would cause a false positive in a breath test. Now, this is a breath test, not necessarily a blood test. However, this is a breath test as high as 0.06%. Now, also, if your blood sugar has ever dropped too low, you could experience the following, such as dizziness, clumsiness, shakiness, difficulty paying attention, confusion, and jerky movements.
I don't think that's her at all. Again, she was meticulous in what she was doing.
Just throwing it out there.
Up until the point that we knew, though, like, what if after the videos and after the phone calls is when she started to get erratic because we just talked about it. You go 0 to 100, right?
But if
Yeah.
it
She
was,
went 0 to 100 when nobody reported it.
if it was a medical condition, when she was pulled over after she talked to her brother, I think she would have stayed there.
But I don't know
think
that the medical condition was happening at the time. I do truly believe, and I don't want to say I'm going to die on this hill, but I think they tied one on the night before. Hands down, that's what fucking happened. That's why she wanted to go get Advil. That's why she wanted orange juice and a coffee. We have all been there. We know what that feels like. And on top of it, you have 5 kids in your car. Fuck yes, I'm doing all these things. And then maybe this crazy thing happens where now I'm having a heart attack, or now I'm having this, or now I'm having that. Or again, I'll go down all these rabbit holes. I go down all the rabbit holes and they all make sense to me. Or she was drinking on the side and all of a sudden the drunkenness hit her and she's fuck, here we are.
Have you all ever been drinking and everything's fine? You're not even thinking about if you're stumbling or whatever, because you're just not, right? Like you're just having drinks, having a good time. But then someone says to you, okay, drunkie, and then all of a sudden you're stuttering words, you become conscious about it, right? Like it almost makes me wonder, was she on the phone? Her husband was like, wait, are you drinking? And then it got to covering up to, no, I'm not. And then that opened that gate. You know, or maybe not even on the phone with her husband, but even if one of the kids were like, I want to call my mom, or let's pull over and talk to my mom. You're acting crazy. And all of a sudden I'm going to compensate, right? And no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because when that moment hits, it is 0 to 100. It doesn't, to everybody on the outside, it gradually happens, but to you, it's.
Yeah.
Carolina, what do you think?
I wish I did it before this episode, but now I want to do a deep dive of whether, because you said the car was on fire, obviously the bodies, Aunt Diane's body, the children's body, had some level of trauma from the fire. I wonder whether burned bodies or injuries from fire-related incidents affects how you determine someone's toxicology, like what's in their system. Does that affect it at all? Has there been studies on that? Do they need to do something differently to test the bloodstream if the body has been exposed to fire damage? That's just a point that I find interesting, only because I'm with you, Janelle. Like, I just feel like if she was drunk at 0.19, that she could be driving in the manner that she was driving, where we're having all of those calls where it's the very defined movements, not swerving all around or going in a lane erratically. It's, I think someone like described it as like road rage. I need to get around this car. I need to get around this car. I need to get around this car. So I just feel like it's hard for me to grasp that she was really at a 0.19. And if she's, I assume, is a regular driver, this is a regular trip that they take with the kids. They go to this campground a lot. If she was just such a regular drinker to the point where it would get to this, that her driving would be this, not even erratic, but not following the road rules, I feel like she'd have DUIs in her history. I feel like she'd have DWIs. She'd have other kinds of reports or incidents that I assume would have come up as people were looking at this. So I have a hard time grappling with that. But I think my ultimate theory is they probably drank the night before. She was dealing with this tooth pain. She might have drank a little more than she normally would have. If we're going with she was a casual drinker and what the family has been saying, if that night, because her tooth pain was so bad, she was drinking more than she was used to, she could have still been drunk in the morning, but she's
100%.
not thinking about that. She's like, oh, I'm fine. Obviously, I drank last night. I went to sleep. Logically in her brain, I'm okay. And with the THC, and now I don't know necessarily firsthand how this affects your body, but Missy, you had thrown out that maybe, do we know if she smoked it or if it was something she ingested? It was like, what, a 3-hour trip, Janelle, from the campground to home?
About 2 hours.
2 hours. So if she had this tooth pain and she had something that was like an edible that she took beforehand, she could have maybe been under the thought process, oh, this will slowly start to make me feel better as I'm driving home. I won't end up being under the influence, but by the time I get home, this is going to make me feel better, and it's just going to be more of an enjoyable day because I'm not dealing with this tooth pain. I can relax a little more after this trip. And I feel like maybe under, and I don't know this for sure, but I feel like marijuana, the way a lot of people handle that, is different than alcohol. So it could explain that she wasn't driving erratically and going across the lines, but was like just trying to book it home quickly.
Yeah, but if she was super stoned, she would be going like 27 miles per hour.
Okay, so that's number one. Number two is, when I was listening to all these podcasts today, researching this, I'm like, THC stays in your body for so long. Like, why are we even talking about it? She could have done that 6 weeks prior to this camping trip.
No, but it was specifically said that it was very high amounts that reflect she had just recently.
I have a hard time with that.
Also, she's a regular marijuana user, which I know there's discrepancies with the family with that, but couldn't that account for her levels being very high? But like,
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Is like,
marijuana every day, your levels would be higher.
if you're using it all the time and every day,
Yeah, it stays in your system.
yeah.
The testing is not very specific. Usually, I'm sure there's probably some markers that they can take a look and figure out if it's a certain height of usage that maybe that they had just taken it. But with me, I've been an everyday user for 3 years. My numbers are always high.
So tell me what it's like to not live in Texas.
Hey, listen, even Florida has a medical card, girl. Y'all need to get on board.
I feel like this might be the first episode where none of us are in agreement.
I agree with Carolina, actually. I'm on Carolina's team, on her island.
Wow. Welcome, Missy. I think you started. You laid the seed for the island, and I just helped grow it. So
I rowed my boat over there.
Well,
I actually, when you were talking and saying yours, I went, yeah, that's exactly where I was before we started today, and also still at.
So
Perfectly comfortable on my lonely island.
Last question. Who thinks this was intentional?
I don't, but the thought crossed my mind.
I don't think so.
So everybody is in agreement that this was an accident and that she did not mean.
I just can't in my head fathom that she would do that with 5 kids in the car. And that's probably where I'm at.
Yes. I don't feel like there's anything that I've learned about the interfamilial relationships that would make me think that she would do this on purpose.
Yeah. So no matter what the catalyst was for all this devastation, but 8 lives were lost, and there's so many things that we don't know, and we just never will. So for now, all we can do is speculate wildly.
We don't want you to miss any of our future recordings. Please take this time now to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find us also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok at SWACPod. That's SWACPOD. Or you can contact us via email for any questions, comments, or case ideas at SWACPod speculatingwildlypod@gmail.com. Thank you for speculating wildly with us tonight.